I call Dr. Pamjit Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on the first reading of the Social Security Commencement of Benefits Amendment Bill. Mr. Speaker, the matter being dealt in this bill under urgency is a very urgent matter because there are a number of people, they go on benefit each day, and it's dealing with that many number of people, Mr. Speaker. This bill is to clarify the Social Security Act about the commencement of benefits, and this bill is to ensure that the government's policy intent is upheld. Mr. Speaker, this government is committed to our welfare reforms because we know hundreds of people are getting off benefit every day because they are getting into jobs. But when people get on to benefit, Mr. Speaker, there's a stand-down period. So the current practice, and when I say, Mr. Speaker, current practice, the practice I'm referring to is that started in June 1998 until 29th September 2015, because from 29th September 2015, we have changed the practice to reflect what's in the legislation. So that current practice has been what the intention of the legislation was, that is to start benefit after the stand-down period finishes, that is the next day after the stand-down period finishes. So, Mr. Speaker, the current practice is in line with the intention of the legislation. But if I look at the legislation, that means work and income people should start benefit from the last day of the stand-down period. So there is a big discrepancy in the legislation and the intention of the policy, and it's important that the legislation reflects the intention of the policy. It's a great bill, Mr. Speaker. I support this bill and commend the bill to the House.
Mr. Speaker.
Call Ian Lees-Galloway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I enjoyed that speech from the member Pamjit Palmer. The senior government whip was staring at her throughout, I think encouraging her to take her seat. But I guess now that the member doesn't have taxpayers' money available to her to promote herself as a possible candidate in an upcoming by-election, that she's now having to do it the old-fashioned way by using her time in the House to try and raise her profile in the event that she should find herself the National Party candidate in any upcoming by-election. Now, so the member also said that this is an urgent matter for the government, I guess as some way of trying to convince the House that this bill actually belongs in the urgency motion. Well, if it was such an urgent matter for the government, then they would have dealt with it somewhere between May 2014 and today. More than a year and a half since the government realised